Tansi, hello everybody. Sean McDonald, Métis Man here. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
I was born a Métis, born on Métis land, raised on a settlement, proud to be a Métis man. Well, today I work in white man's world. I'm married to a Métis girl.
The hills were alive with the sound of Canadian Guinands, looking and searching for Guinand history, there in the Jura Mountains of western Switzerland. The first mention of the Guinand name was in 1490, when a Besançon Guinand was referenced in the Swiss village of Le Prenier. This picturesque village was settled from France in the early 1300s and is just across the Doubs River on the border with Switzerland. It seems Le Brenier and the Guinand name go hand in hand even to today. Life evolved little in this small border town on the edge of France through the years, but on December 14th, 1889, Edmond Guinand was born to Numa and Eva Guinand. He grew up in the original Guinand house, which was also their general store there in the heart of the village, of which still exists today. Moving south, there in western Switzerland, we come to the small farming village of Les Bayards, and it's here we find William and Emma Rosslett on their farm, and who on August 10th, 1903, have a daughter, Lena. Edmund always wanted to be a farmer, and after grade school he attended agricultural school. But he always dreamed of farming in Western Canada as he was wooed by the brochures. So, in 1914, he joined up with Armand and Bluette Gabriel and her sister Violet Gatolia, and they started on a grand adventure to the New World. The Gabriels settled in Grandin, and Edmund settled on 2 quarters of land in Normando. But after a few years, he wrote to his mother that he wanted a Swiss wife. So back to Switzerland he went. Before we get to Canada, we discovered that the Guinands, even though being in the history books back to the 1400s, we found some interesting historical information. In 2017, along with Diane and our boys, Leland and Ethan, Lucille and her son, Dace, made a trek back to Le Brenier, back to where the Guinand history started, and we uncovered some history in the crypt in the church there in the village. And with that special moment from our history, we could now move on to Canadian soil, where Edmund and Lena, having made the move from the comforts of Switzerland to Normando, starting a new life and family. After May was born in 1923, a bouncing baby Andre was born on May 5th, 1925, and that is why we are here today. Northeastern Alberta was a huge change for Edmund and Lena, but they adapted and raised 7 kids. May, Andy, Nadine, Marcel, Germaine, Helen, and Lily, all raised in the ways of the Lord and leading a simple, hard-working way of life. Neighbors were sparse, but they had each other. When Andy was about 12, the countryside was crawling with rabbits, and the government had a bounty out on the critters, and it was at this time he thought he could get himself a new Eaton's bike. And here's how that went down.
Oh, rabbits were all over the country. At night they just come from all directions to come and eat hay around the haystack.
So you had a plan.
Yeah, well, they were saying that you could get the money from the pelt. So I try to catch as many as I could, and I skinned them fast. I was trying to get enough to buy a bicycle. I wanted a bicycle because, I was eager to go faster.
So
Yeah.
how many pelts did you have to get to get a
I,
bike?
I finally had got a whole bag full, and that was a lot of rabbits.
How many you think?
I don't know, maybe
300-400?
somewhere around there, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And before you knew it,
Yeah, yeah. So finally I had made around $30 or 40, I don't know, somewheres in there. And then they ordered one from Eaton Catalog. So, yep, it came, and whatever was missing, because it was around $40 or so for the bicycle. So Dad put the rest. And then I had to learn.
Andy wasn't fond of horses for farm work. So, in 1938 or so, when he was 13 or 14 years old, and with a little coaxing, his dad went into Lacabish and bought a brand new BR John Deere tractor, disc, and plow. Well, that was a game changer. And his dad didn't like driving the tractor, so it was Andy's new farm toy.
Yeah, well, my dad finally seen that I wasn't much for horses, so he went and to Lobeys in Lacabish and bought a BR John Deere and
A plow?
a plow and a disc,
Right.
12-foot disc. The three of them at one shot.
Wow.
He bought that.
Cha-ching.
And then, when he got home and that tractor came, I thought I was the king of the jungles. And Dad couldn't drive it. He was scared of it. He didn't know how. He didn't know. Oh, he was useless when it came to something. So I became the one that drove the tractor all the time. Nobody else did. I was a tractor man, and I never forgot about tractors. I was always willing to get a bigger one and bigger machinery.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So the BR would have, you would have bought, your dad would have bought that in what, about 37, 38?
Yes, it'd be around there. Yeah.
So you were still just a teenager. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The first tractor that I bought, I guess, I don't remember how, but and it was a 40-20 John Deere tractor.
This one.
This one here,
Yeah.
and it's still standing here.
Not long after, his dad and mom bought a used 37 Chev car, of which his dad didn't like to drive. So when Dad got his driver's license in 1941, he was in charge of the car now as well. Look out, world. Driving his mom and siblings to Sunday school in Goose Lake, summer Bible camps, and trips into town happened with a proud Andy behind the wheel. Then, in 1945, the decision to move into Lacabish happened for Edmond and Lena, which was a huge change for everyone involved. After attending Prairie Bible Institute, May, Nadine, Helen, and Lily all migrated out to the Montreal area to serve the Lord. Back in Lacabish, Germaine married early and started raising a family before losing her husband, Ernest Kedju, in 1957. Andy, on the other hand, hit the ground running as he bought himself a few vehicles, one of which was a Jeep, which now gave him the freedom to spread his wings. So moving to Lacabish,
Oh,
So that was in 1945 by the looks of it. And 1946 was the first year you guys really lived in Lacabish. But that fall, your dad bought the land, but he also bought a big barn, right?
he bought the land because of they wouldn't. He couldn't get the land without getting the big barn with it. So he had no choice. If he wanted the barn, the
Quarter section.
quarter section, the barn went with it, and it had to be moved.
And it had to be moved a quarter of a mile, just about, eh?
Just about
An eighth.
an eighth of a mile, about that, yeah.
And it was a big barn.
Yeah, 100 by 32,
Whoa.
30 wide,
Yeah.
100 long.
And who owned it?
And
Hamilton?
Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah.
Forget his first name, but Hamilton owned it,
Yeah.
and he bought it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this little BR John Deere.
So then to move it, he had to get, somebody told him the only way he could pull it is with a stump puller. The old stump puller that you put a horse on it to go around and round and round, and it would wrap the cable and pull. And you had to anchor that stump puller in about 30 feet of dirt. You had to ditch a tunnel to put the cable and then a big log in the bottom to hold it, otherwise they wouldn't pull the barn.
But instead of a horse, you guys used the tractor.
Yeah, and then instead of using a horse, well, we didn't have a horse there, so we had a little BR there, so I was happy that I could go around at least with that little BR if I wasn't ditching something.
Moving into Lacabish introduced Andy to the Kedge brothers, Paul and Dave. And as Andy had hand-built a sawmill, and after making lumber for neighbors, he soon got a contract from the government to cut railroad ties. So the three of them, along with brother Marcel, headed into the bush to make a go of it. What made you think to build a sawmill?
Well, there was no more school for me, and I had no job, so I figured, well, I'll go to Northern Garage. Them days it was a garage that had no floor, just dirt, and we were talking together, and then
With who?
with a big guy. It was
He was a big Italian or something.
Italian. It was a big Italian guy, and he worked in the north, way up north, and he could work outside with no gloves or no mitts at 40 below, and he says he didn't feel it. He just that didn't bother him, never. His hand was always warm. Anyhow, we were talking, and finally he said, well, how about if I don't know if we were talking about sawmills or not. He said, well, why don't we make a sawmill? So, and you can make it here and come and work every day. And I built it, and then Ernest Kedge went and cut some logs on Dumas, and he didn't tell Duma nothing, so he just stole them logs there, and then we sawed them, and it worked okay. But
you made a bunch of 2x6s and 2x8s.
2x6 or 2x8, but only 8 feet long.
Right.
So we even used some on that little Hilo church
Ah,
for a wall.
yeah, neat.
And so After that, I said, oh, that's no good. I know how to build one better than that, so I gave up on that one. I don't know what I did with it, but anyhow, I went to Edmonton at Coots, where they made where you buy sawmills.
Oh,
So when I knew what I wanted, so I bought the gears, because you couldn't make gears by yourself. And these were cast iron, so it was good. And I bought everything I needed, and then I went and started building it at home and at south of Hilo.
oh, right.
And it took me a while, maybe 5-6 months, because I had to do other works beside.
Yeah.
And then it worked real good. And then I had that, what you call,
Your Oliver?
88 Oliver, and a big belt. It was a thrashing machine belt, 60 feet long. And then put it on, and
Off to work you went?
and I went to work, and oh man, I went all over the place.
And where was the best place to go saw lumber? What kind of family?
Oh, I had Paul Cadieux for a canter, because he had left hand with a little cant hook, and he would just flick that log over very fast, and his right hand would clink the log down.
Yeah. And then you had Dave Cadieux?
And I had Dave Cadieux and Marcel, my brother, for a tail sawyer. So he'd throw the slab over and the lumber to one side. And he had to work quite hard.
Yeah.
And then I went all around from Lacabish here. I went from St. Lina all the way around to mile 37, sawing for people. And there was, they always seemed to know that I was coming around, and they asked me, can you come, can you come? So I'd go, and then I went to Owl River finally, and to what you call
Buzz Diesels?
Buzz Diesel at what you call that river there?
Owl
River, and saw it for him, and he made some little buildings there that
all those cabins.
Cabins.
And they're still there today.
And they're still there, oh yeah.
Andy, along with Paul and Dave Cadieux, got homesteads south of Hilo, and before you knew it, Andy was hooked up with a pretty little neighborhood gal by his sister Jermaine. This young lady was Caroline McDonald, and before you could say I do, they were married in the spring of '54. Andy and Caroline built themselves a home and farm there in South Hilo, and in 1956 they had a son, Ted. Then, as Ted got to school age, they had to move closer to Hilo for Ted to attend school. So they bought a farm just outside of Hilo, and soon enough, Cliff was born in 1960. In 1966, a daughter, Lucille, joined them, and a year later, another son, Travis, was welcomed into the Guinand clan. Family and helping to serve the Lord were paramount in Andy and Caroline's world, as they helped grow the church in Hilo and later in Lacabish. Family was super important, whether it was Jermaine and her kids coming over for Sunday dinners, or family from Switzerland visiting, or the sisters May, Nadine, Helen, and Lily traveling back from Montreal to be with family. The farm was always welcoming. Farming. Farming was the way of life, And Andy always had to have some neat farm machinery, from making silage to having a bulldozer to clear land, the best tractors. Andy was always making farming easier with machinery that helped to do that. Farming was hard, but raising a family was a blessing. And the extended family was also important, as there was always family and friends coming in and out of our daily lives there on the farm. Blueberry Hills.
Oh,
So your sister set you guys up, right?
yeah, we were at the homestead,
You were
and I was batching there, and Ernest and Jermaine came there they built a little granary to live in, and so how does that work now? Anyhow,
they knew of the neighbors,
yeah,
the McDonald's.
The McDonald's were only a mile down the road, so I started to know the McDonald's, and I knew the boys quite a bit, and so this lady there, well, I found out that she was getting close to 18 years old. So one day he wanted to go and pick blueberries in the sandhills by Castlin. So they invited Caroline to come along. So we all jumped in the back. It was a 1-ton truck with sides 4 feet high. And so we stand there and hang on to the side while Ernest was driving, and
And the road was pretty rough, so
and
you
the
kind of
road-
had to kind of cuddle up to the young lady and make sure she wouldn't
yeah.
fall over.
I was kind of close, I guess. And she didn't mind it, so okay. So finally, I figured, maybe
You're going to make your move.
I'll make my move, and she said, okay.
Oh, and then you started dating, and
Yep.
before you knew it,
And it didn't take long. Oops. I kind of pushed it too fast because it landed on the 12th of February, and it was 30 below zero
for your wedding.
for my wedding.
Yeah. Was it February or March?
February.
No, I thought it was.
No, in March.
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it was a cold spring.
Oh, it was a cold spring, and it was snowing and drifting, and oh my, it was a bad day. But
You guys got married, and the rest is history.
yep.
Farming continued on there in Hilo with new, used, and homemade farm machinery. As we still had the homestead in South Hilo, where the bulk of the land was. So every year we'd have to do a cattle drive, and it came to a point where selling the Hilo farm and moving back was the order of the day. That was in 1972, but that didn't last, and in 1977 the ranch was sold and they moved closer to town.
I had 4 acres sowed in hay. And then I didn't know how to cut. I had no machineries for hay. So I borrowed a mower machine to cut the hay with the horses. And that took, just 4 acres took a long time. And at first when you didn't have much, it wasn't bad. But as soon as you had to make 1,000 or 2,000 of them, I said, oh, that's a man killer. Yeah, I can't stand that. I'm going to kick the bucket before I go too far. So then I decided to make loose hay and and rake it in long, big piles, but long windrows. And then I had made a big square
Cage thing.
cage. You open the front, and then you drive over the
Windrows.
the windrow, and it would slide in and slide in and slide in, and it was about 10, 12 feet high that I had made it. So, and then once it wouldn't move anymore, well then,
Yeah, to start
You-
piling from the top.
so we put a little more on top to make a stack out of it. So we made quite a bit of hay that time, and
And we had the bonanza. You built this
Oh, yeah.
machine to make loose hay.
yeah, then we had these big farmhand
That would mount on your tractor, but
would mount on
It
the
was
tractor.
dangerous.
But in the tines were about 10, 12 feet long, but into a whistle, like the back was about 2, 3 inches thick, and then front was just a point. So you'd go and pick that up and lift it up and go and dump it on the
stacked.
stacks.
Yeah. But why'd you build the bonanza?
Well,
It was just easier.
I figured, well, at least I don't have to, in the winter I would have more time to want to take it out of the stack,
Oh,
to
okay.
pitch it to the cows.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But that when you got too many, you couldn't do that either. So finally,
Silage.
and then we went to silage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that worked pretty good, but
But you needed lots of machinery for that one.
you needed lots
two
of machinery.
trucks.
2 trucks and 2 tractors or more. I
Yeah.
forget what it was, but
And the cutter and the bucket behind.
yeah,
And you needed lots of people to. I remember, yeah, you have Jerry Kedju and Danny Davidson to just Ted.
and then
yeah.
we had moved to Hilo, so
Yeah.
and then I had made a place to put the silage,
The pits.
the pit, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we made it a little too wet. So then I realized, oh my, the silage is dripping downhill. The water's running down. And then I could hear these crows and birds and
Rabbits.
just
It was just a racket, eh? They were
singing
just
like they're half dead, and then I realized they're drinking that water, and I said, "Oh my, they're drunk." They were drunk, and they weren't scared of you. They were just quack quack. Oh my!
I remember that. And you drive in the pit, and they'd try and fly away. They'd barely make the edge of the pit wall, and the
Drunker
rabbits
than-
and
they were-
magpies.
They
yeah.
were drunker than skunks. Oh my!
And then you said, okay, let's make round bales, and you were one of the pioneers. You got one of the first.
Yeah, and then when the first big bales, round bales, that were coming out, a 500 John Deere baler, I was one of the first ones to get one. Oh, and I liked that, and it was good. And
They had bought the Gil Wise place where Travis lives today. And with just Lucille and Travis home now, there was 4-H, pony club, sports in town. Life was busy. A trip to Switzerland happened in 1981, and there was a lot of family and history that was seen and learned. But Dad needed to be farming, and in 1981, when they got back from Switzerland, they bought the Christie Creek farm, of which is still in the family today. Here's a slew of pics that take Andy through the years with grandkids, farming, family, and extended family. It's been a good run, right, Dad? Thank you. Thank you for all you've done for us. And hey, here's to many more. Love you.
Okay?
You got this. Grinder in there.
Some more?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's too low. I can...
Yeah, you can do it.
so, 100 years, were they pretty good?
Yeah, they were pretty good in spots. And you had your up and downs and
Yeah,
and get some in trouble sometimes, and
yeah.
everything came.
But what kept your eyes on the wheel? Your faith? Was it just a
Oh.
great partner with Mom?
Yeah, well, we always kept going to church, and that's what kept us going, because it was family, all of
Family,
us there. So
family and God,
yeah,
and
and
hard work.
hard work, and finally, yeah, that comes to an end.
Just not quite for you yet.
And now I'm still going, and 100 is got me down.
But you're still doing great. Well,
Oh boy.
yeah. Well, we have all these people here, and just thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your life with us.
yeah.
And
Well, thank you for listening. And oh, my
your stories, you got lots
my
of stories.
story.
This is just a touch of them.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
100 years, yeah, you can add up a few stories in there. All right,
Oh,
Dad.
yeah.
Thanks. God bless, and
Okay.
see you bright-eyed, bushy-tailed tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ixamaga.